probably get going.
Wonderful, thank you.
Bye. All right, and we are live.
Good morning, everybody. This is the February 28th meeting of the Streets and Roads Committee, and February 28th, last day of February. And at the meeting present is Rob Ellis, CAO, Lisa Roshold, our Reeve, myself, Deputy Reeve, Paul Clark, and Bill Luca, our Operations Director. So welcome everybody, and we'll go on to the agenda. First thing is the minutes of January the 24th. Any changes? Oh, I'm sorry, approval of the agenda. I do have one item, I'll ask if anybody else has one. Nothing?
Sorry, I do. I thought you were going to give yours first.
Okay, you go ahead, please.
Item E2 out of the previous minutes, which was the Director of Operations will bring information forward regarding the Jameson Road improvement levy back to the committee. I wonder if that should be, or I think it should be under business arising from the minutes.
Yeah, I don't have an update for this month. We haven't completed our discussion internally.
Okay.
So we could add it to this meeting or wait for next month's.
Well, I'd like to put it in as on an agenda item, and then you can say, Bill, just what you said when we get to it.
Okay.
So,
and then
so
it doesn't get missed.
It doesn't get lost.
Yeah.
So that'll be C1. And that's exactly the one I had too, Lisa. So.
Oh, great minds think alike, Paul.
Exactly. Yeah. Great, thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on. And Bill, could you say what you said about C1? Jameson
Sorry,
Road.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from January 24th.
Thank you, Lisa. And could you make a motion to the amended agenda as well?
Oh, I can. Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay. Okay, business arising, Bill. Jameson Road improvement levy.
Are you going to skip the minutes or item B?
I approved the minutes and then I approved the agenda, Bill, so I was out of order.
Okay. So item C1, Jameson Road Policy P6. Administration still reviewing, and we don't have an update for this meeting.
When are you think you will have an update on that?
I'm thinking for the March meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, unfinished business, private gravel sales. You got an update on that, Bill?
Yeah, before we've been talking about sending out the letter for comments, the questionnaire letter, and before doing that, we actually started administratively. We started reviewing our costs, and I thought it would be best if we have the discussion on the costs and update the questionnaire and letter with the new costs that we know. So Kendra's done a great job. She's recalculated the costs. So currently the comparable would be $821 per cubic meter in our fee schedule. The new cost is $15.92. per cubic meter. So now we've gone through a reclamation project. So we know the reclamation costs, and we've actually recently completed quite a large crushing program, and the costs are quite expensive, and they were actually about double from 2009. But 1592 still isn't too bad for sales. It's my understanding they're all over the place, but about $15 per cubic meter would be a cost of to buy gravel, and we're quite a small pit too, so that so I think we're right in the ballpark. We've let the director of finance know, and she can update the reserves, the reclamation reserve, based on the new costs. And with that being said and done, my intentions to update the draft letter that we discussed, and I believe the intent was to bring it to council before making it, before issuing it to the public.
Okay. Well, that's good. I thought the letter had gone out, but not, apparently not.
Yeah, I have a question about that. So is this isn't just regarding the burnt timber pit that we discussed last month? Or is it's all gravel pit sales?
Burnt timber pits are only operating pit. It's the only pit we have right now.
Okay.
2021, we finished reclaiming the ghost pit near Benchlands. And then in 2021, our Beaver Valley pit, we were preparing to move into the reclamation phase, and the province issued that lease to another operator where we don't have to reclaim that pit. So yes, this would be actually, it brings in information from the other pits, but it's really regarding moving forward with our only pit, burnt timber pit.
And in that letter, though, we talked about from last meeting, we talked about how the fees would go from $9.38 per cubic meter to about $40 per cubic meter.
Then,
so was that $40 way off? Is that what's supposed to be $15?
No, the $8 is what's way off. It's being updated now. So all the costs we referred to in that letter would roughly be increased by the $7.
Yes.
So,
The $40 was for sales. I believe that did not go onto municipal roads. Is that correct?
That's correct. The $40, the increase, the big increase there. There's a small fee for the royalty from the province, but the big increase was to recover the lost cost for the security deposit that the province is requiring us to pay. And since we have such small gravel sales, it's I can't remember the number, essentially 2 truckloads a year on average. That cost of the recovering the security deposit is quite expensive per cubic meter per private sales per or private land.
Right. Well, I should be honest, I'm not entirely clear about how this is connected to the last letter that we approved at the last Streets and Roads meeting, but if you want to bring this to council, I think then it'll be a complete package, and hopefully it will provide more clarity.
For sure. Like we're in no rush administratively for two trucks of gravel. I could bring this back to Streets and Roads if you want in March, if that would make it, or I can take it back to council. Well,
if it needs to go to council, then might as well go there, and then at that point, we'll see how this all ties in together.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll go through and explain it.
Okay.
Lisa, I don't know if you're aware, but Burnco has a huge pit on Highway 1A, just east of the Forestry Trunk Road. So even if we did have a gravel pit, we probably couldn't compete with them.
Right.
They got so many. It's just a huge amount of gravel that they've crushed there. That whole valley is gravel.
Right.
Yes, Rob. Rob, you're
Yeah, can I make a suggestion? Bill should probably bring the letter back to the next meeting of the Streets and Roads Committee. It's not going to be on the agenda for the 8th, but it'll be on the agenda for late April. So I think it's good for the committee to know, so we can have a recommendation going forward to council to say, this is what we agree to. I think it's easier to work it out at the committee level and then give it to council with a firm recommendation.
do we need a motion to do that, Rob? Or we just do it?
Just do it. I've made a
Okay.
record of it.
Okay. Okay, next business is Hard Creek Bridge at Les Arcs.
Yeah, so
Page 5.
So we're preparing the terms of reference for the consulting agreement and ready to get going on this project. And I think the main thing I can just come from the staff report is we'll have the consultant work on some conceptual options for the bridge and the location of the bridge. We know the desired location, and we'll bring that to council before consulting with the public. We think that's the best approach to this, but we won't select the concept or be moving forward until we have that discussion with council.
Bill, I'm a little bit unclear on how this is being funded.
It was through a capital, approved as part of the capital budget. I have to go into the details of the funding sources.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Lisa.
Well, it's great to see this on this agenda. I do think it's important to consider what the community is asking for, because I think something like this can very quickly get over-engineered. And through years of discussion with residents in Les Arcs, I do have a picture of something that they are looking for, because they're very clear in terms of not wanting anything huge or overly extravagant or over-engineered. Can I share my screen?
Go ahead.
Okay. I haven't actually done this myself.
Bill, what was the budget amount for this? I think it was $75,000, wasn't it?
It is 75,000. Yeah.
So this will be a very, very small bridge, very much like you see in the backcountry. But I'd sure like to see what you've got there, Lisa.
Okay. Include computer sound. I am not sure what I'm doing. I've only ever shared my screen.
There's a white rectangle with a black arrow.
Can you
right next to
Lisa?
the leave button, upper right hand corner.
Lisa, if
Yeah.
you open up the picture first
Yeah.
and have it up just on your screen?
Yeah,
Are you working with one screen or two?
I just shut off my other screen.
Okay, so have it up on the screen that's either or, pick one.
Okay.
And then when you go to click to share,
Yeah.
white box, left arrow, you should be able to capture either the window or a screen, and it should give you an option.
Okay. And do I do screen?
Yeah, choose where you see the picture up.
Okay.
Got it? There you go.
There we go. Do you guys see that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that is fairly rudimentary.
We're
I thi-
talking very basic. This is the same type of footbridge that is on Hart Creek about 6 different times on the other side of the highway. So the community has been feeling like if that could be placed 6 different times on the other side of the highway, then it should be good enough to be placed on the Lac des Arcs side of the highway. So and very simple, not much over engineering, and if there was ever another flooding event, it would just simply get washed out and be replaced.
Well, if that's the concept we want to go with, that saves us a step.
I like saving steps, unless I'm trying to get to my 10,000.
Okay, so this is great, because this is kind of partially why I put the staff report in this package, is for the discussion. I'll proceed with that concept.
Okay.
And we'll talk with the engineer based on that concept. And then
Okay.
we'll come back with an update either to council or streets and roads.
Very good. I'll send you
Rob,
that
you had your
picture.
hand. Rob?
Yeah, I still think the concept is good, Bill, to have 3 different designs. However, this shows that it's a very, I'll call rudimentary backcountry, because obviously that's really what it is. And when I remember we talked to the engineers, they were looking at that type of thing too. They did not, as Lisa, you pointed out, over engineer anything. They wanted to keep it as simple as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the main things from the community is they don't want any of the environment to be ruined by heavy equipment or machinery going in to place something big. So that's almost more important than having that bridge. So yeah, the bridge would be a gift or benefit to the community, but they don't want it to come at a cost of losing any of their trees or vegetation.
Okay.
We'll lose some vegetation on the other side because they're going to have to connect the trail that's already there.
Yeah.
So there'll be some of that, but easily we can do we can move around trees with the trail. It's just to get onto the main access trail that goes down to the little beach that's there.
Right.
We can do that.
So what I heard, we'll come back with just 3 options summarized. It's as the first step, and that will be one of them.
Perfect. I'll send you a picture of, or an email with that picture, Bill.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, moving on to parking in Harvey Heights. You got a lot of background information on that.
Yes, the community association sent us some requests and some requests to restrict parking and comments on restricting or limiting on-site parking. The on-site parking isn't really a function of the Streets and Roads Committee. It was discussed at council last month, and it's really managed by the planning department through the land use bylaw. So I haven't prepared, or I haven't looked into that, and I don't think that's our function. I did, however, regarding the on-street parking, I did have a couple conversations with our bylaw department and our roads foreman, and I think we're supportive of installing no parking signs on Blue Jay Drive and on Harvey Heights Road. We'd have to look at it. I don't know if signs are required on both sides of Harvey Heights Road, because there's a white line and then there's no room to park. Obviously, you'd be on top of the trail for a large portion of the road on the north side of it. But I think administration, we're supportive. We could restrict the parking on those two streets, and then we're a little more hesitant to do the wholesale restriction in the residential area. We could create some more issues right now with residents. Some residents do park on the streets, and then or beside the street, depending on the context of the discussion. Some residents have little parking bays or gravel shoulder areas, and some areas don't. And then by law would have to be very they'd have to enforce it, and they'd have to treat everyone equally, and it could affect people if they do have friends and family over on weekends and whatnot. So I think as a first step, if we look at Blue Jay Drive and Harvey Heights Road, I think that would be a good first step.
Comments?
Yeah, I agree with that, Bill. I think I can see where this is needed for sure on Blue Jay Drive and Harvey Heights Road. I think I would like to hear from more community members too, before something like this would get spread out amongst the rest of the hamlet. And I don't know what the process is. Like, if it's an amendment to the bylaw, would we have to have a public hearing, or what's the process to receive some feedback or engage the public in that area, Rob?
Yeah, you don't need to have a bylaw to do this. This is obviously operational. I think that we could certainly send out a letter to all of the ratepayers in Harvey Heights and explain that we've received some concerns and recommendations coming from the the Harvey Heights Community Association, and just ask them for their feedback if this is something that they're supportive of. And of course, from engineering side, from Bill's side, is to make sure that, if that's too narrow, it's totally justified in having no parking there. And Harvey Heights Road, again, we have to look at that too. But I would think that's a good idea to start with. What do the residents really want?
Yeah, I think for pure safety reasons, like Blue Jay Drive and Harvey Heights Road I would think everybody would be comfortable with those being no parking zones. It's just, and maybe I'm ahead of myself here with our agenda items, but there was also the discussion of expanding the no parking to every street in Harvey Heights. So I think that is when we would need to seek feedback.
Oh, I don't even know if we need to seek feedback on that one, Lisa. The answer to that one would just be a no.
Okay.
As Bill's pointed out, no, that it'll create a way more problems than it's worth. And I think unless the committee wants that particular item to put in there, but admin would be very much opposed to that. It's not required. But if we know there's safety issues, especially dealing with Blue Jay and with Harvey Heights Road, we look at it from an operational standpoint, and safety is the issue. We can deal with that, and that's fully legitimate. But looking at Harvey Heights right now, It's been that way for years and years, and as Bill's pointed out, some people have gravel pads that they have encroachments on. We've approved them. Others have not, but I mean, it seems to have worked for a very long time and not been a problem.
All right, so Bill, you think, I guess, we proceed with no parking signs on Blue Jay Drive and Harvey Heights Road, and well, hopefully the community would see a benefit to that. And then if there's still concerns around excessive street parking, what should they do?
You know, I think the community association's very engaged, and residents either can contact us or the community association, but you know, I think naturally the discussion's going to continue to some degree. And I just wanted to mention Harvey Heights Road and Blue Jay Drive. Well, we wouldn't install them right now. We'd wait till better weather. It's easier on our crews, and they're still in snow removal, snow clearing. Yeah. We're in that transition, so it wouldn't happen overnight here. It will be a couple months out before before any signs are installed.
Okay. Right. Well, if that's the case, then why wouldn't we just ask the community? We can send out letters then in the meantime and just tell them, here are, you know, we'll put the letter together and say, here are the plans, and what do you think? Putting these no parking signs up, and just get some community feedback other than what the community association has requested.
Well, I can certainly draft a letter then for next month's Streets and Roads meeting. The questionnaire.
Yeah, I don't even know if you just send it back here.
Now we would just do it.
Yeah.
And bring the results back to Streets and Roads.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ground's a little hard to put in signposts.
Yeah.
Okay, do we need a motion on that, Rob?
Yes, I think that would be a good idea.
Okay.
Sorry, I've got another question though. If residents are having a hard time or noticing that there's vehicles parked on the street, like if any of the other streets, if there's any vehicles parked on the street, just for the same example they provided in this package where there's a school bus that's got caught in a snowbank, like if there's no rules around people parking or not parking on the rest of the streets, how do the residents bring those concerns to the MD? Like, if they can't be making a bylaw complaint if there's no rule saying you can't park there, but how do they bring these concerns forward?
No, it would be a bylaw complaint. And then bylaw would assess it, and they could either send it to operations or maybe to planning department, depending on what the complaint was. Let's say a bunch of construction traffic was parked along there, they're building a house. That would be, we could have a bylaw complaint, and that'd be something we would look at, because they can't hinder public movement on that road.
Right. Okay, so even though it's not a bylaw to have or even though no parking signs are not part of a bylaw, they can still call in a bylaw complaint if there's 6 cars parked on the street, say on like Bow River Drive.
Sure, and if they're blocking traffic, absolutely, that's a traffic problem.
Okay. So just going through the bylaw complaint process is the simplest way.
Yes.
Okay. And do we know if there's been very many bylaw complaints in Harvey Heights on the roads excluding Blue Jay Drive and Harvey Heights Road, or?
I haven't seen the logs for those. Usually what we get is construction traffic. So if a resident there has a business and they're parking their trucks on the road, that'll cause a problem, and bylaw will investigate. We haven't had a lot of those. So anything we've heard about stop putting parking signs or no parking signs on trail entrances and so forth have really come from the community association. So that's where we've seen them, and we've put up appropriate signage in response to that. But people have to understand those are still public trails, and if they're properly parked off the carriageway, it's totally fine for people to be in there to go for a hike for the day.
Oh, thank you for that. I think the direction for the community is clear too, if they do see a problem.
So Rob has suggested we make a motion that operations install no parking signs along Harvey Heights Road and Blue Jay Drive. And does that have to go to council then?
No, what I was suggesting for right now, because, and let's just back up a little bit, the request has been made by Harvey Heights. Mr. Luca has looked at it, said there is support from administration for putting no parking on Blue Jay Drive as well as Harvey Heights. But I think it would be good also to get some comments from the residents and just how they feel about that. Bill, do you have any comments? Because we can get feedback and bring it back to the council. To this committee. But Lisa, are you talking about maybe something broader? Again, this is going back to your question about parking within the actual residential roadways in the hamlet. Do you want to have feedback on that?
Well, I think we start here with Blue Jay Drive and Harvey Heights Road. Like, that's where operations sees there's an immediate need or a need soon, and they're supportive of that. So I think we start with that, and then if the community members are still feeling like there's safety concerns around the other roads, then just having the direction on how the community members should be providing that feedback is important. So for them to know that they should just be filing a complaint with bylaw, I think is the next step. And we can continue the conversation if those complaints start flowing in.
Okay. So you don't want a letter sent to the residents about putting no parking signs on Harvey Heights Road and Blue Jay Drive?
No, I think we should.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's where we should just go right now, and then see what happens after that. Yeah, I think we should just get the feedback from the community members. It's never a bad thing to over communicate.
Okay, we'll do that.
So going back to requirement of a motion, Rob, it doesn't seem to me that this, because it's a safety item, would require a motion. Seems to me like this is just an operations concern that needs to be rectified.
Well, we're going to be sending a letter informing the Harvey Heights residents that we're going to be installing no stop signs on Blue Jay Drive and Harvey Heights Road. And I think we also want to just get their feedback before we commence the installation. And I think, Bill, sometime, in May?
Yeah, that would be about right, yeah.
Yeah. And comments that we receive from the residents will be brought back to this committee.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
That's good. It's a good start.
Good.
And we'll see if that alleviates any of the issues.
Sorry to beat this one to death, Rob, but just do we have to have the formality of a motion here, or
I would do a motion.
Okay. Are you prepared to do a motion, Lisa?
Sure. I'll make the motion that Streets and Roads draft a letter to send out to community members requesting feedback on no parking signs on Blue Jay Drive and Harvey Heights Road. And to return with the feedback to a future Streets and Roads committee.
Okay. Can I make a friendly amendment to that?
Sure.
You said Streets and Roads have recommended, but I think it should come from administration.
Well, it's our motion. I don't know.
What do you think, Rob?
No, I think it's from the committee giving direction, and I think that is where it should come from. And the feedback will come back to this committee that we receive.
I think the committee's just asking to get feedback, go to the public. They're not recommending the signage change.
Yeah.
Okay. Lisa, are you interested in hearing about the residential area as well? Whether people are interested in having some type of parking restrictions in the residential area?
I am. I'm concerned it might get too complicated though with this. If we've got one pressing area that has been identified by admin and operations as a safety concern, I think we should make sure we're addressing that first and clearly. But yeah, I see where you're going with this, Paul, where it's maybe we should just ask the same question or ask that question in the same letter. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm not recommending that at all.
Okay.
I completely agree with Rob that that's a problem that's going to cause a lot of other problems. Let's just go with the two safety concerns that have been identified. I'll support your motion, so we'll go forward with that.
Okay.
So next Streets and Roads Committee, we should get some feedback or whatever. It doesn't have to be the next one because I think it's certainly May before you can pound anything in the ground.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Like if it comes back by April, the feedback is back to our Streets and Roads meeting by April, then we can make sure operations has permission by May.
Right. Anything more, Bill? You got what you need?
Yeah, well, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Now we've got the Bull River Drive and Blue Jay Drive intersection, Harvey Heights.
Yes, and it actually also includes Elk Street intersection. It's an intersection that I know some members of council and administration had multiple discussions about in the past, in about 2016. So basically, we received a request to change the signage, or maybe, hey, we could make a little bit of change on the signage. And I've reviewed it, and our roads foreman has reviewed it, and we think the signage is good. It's actually followed the recommendation. Maybe not the location wasn't spelled out, but it followed the recommendation of our engineers for an interim solution. So I'm going to reply back to the inquiry that we think the signage is good, but it highlighted a bigger issue that the intersection has been discussed and reviewed, and by policy T29, and also it preceded policy T29, policy T16 requires the director of operations to prepare a roads upgrading master plan. So improvements to this intersection were recognized, but it was also recognized with the low volumes. It was in a rush, and we weren't receiving many complaints or inquiries, but we do get a few. So with that said and done, this is as much of the discussion as just I'd like to start creating that roads upgrading master plan as an example. Another item that would go on to that would be the improvement of the bird cage, or the realignment of the bird cage. So this one project itself, I'd just be proposing it as a 2032, so 10 years from now, capital budget of 10,000, to turn this intersection closer to a standard T intersection. One thing we'd have to keep in mind, and future administrations will have to keep in mind, is that there is the quarry, so there is some larger traffic turning left up onto Elk. So I don't know if there's really, you could receive this for information, or but that's just describing where the direction I think I'm headed with this.
Lisa?
On page 46 under item F1 unfinished business. So this is council meeting minutes from April 11th, 2017. It says moved by Councillor Montgomery that council directed Min to implement the short-term improvement option at the Blue Jay Bow River Drive Elk Street intersection as identified by McElhaney Engineering, Harvey Heights, or until the traffic volumes at that intersection significantly increase. So is that some, I guess, with that motion that was carried by council, it highlights two things to me: that this was a temporary or short-term improvement, and then that we should be looking at traffic volumes and identifying if there's been any increases.
Yes, I agree with that. And then, so the short term has been done with the yield signs. I believe there used to be stop signs, if my memory is correct. And then if it's on our road rehabilitation plan, or please forgive me, our roads upgrading plan, 10 years down the road, that will highlight the discussion for future councils and future administrators, so it just doesn't slip off the radar. And then they can make that decision at that time. Just as we're saying, we're not ready to make the change right now. We think it can wait for a bit. It's not a current priority. They'd be afforded that same option as well.
Okay, so then short term, I guess we've put in short term permanent improvements. Is that a better way to consider that, or?
Yeah,
I don't know where I don't know where we're at currently. Like, is it temporary signage that has been installed, or is it
yeah, the interim or short term I use probably interchangeably. It's been done with the yield sign, so it's really the final, or the reconfiguration would be the future project. So that's what it would show up as we start discussing the road upgrading plan, and it would just be a reconfiguration of the intersection would be showing up on that plan 10 years from now for about $10,000.
Okay, to do the review. All right. So what happens now, Bill? Do you get back to the resident that brought this concern to you, or?
Yes, I will. We'll do that. And just give my explanations why we think it's appropriate.
And then 2032? Is that when you were suggesting?
I'd once we start drafting the upgrading plan, there's only a few roads that we're contemplating right now on that plan, but then it would have to go to council through Streets and Roads once we prepare it. It'll be a live and plan that we'd be actively working on. Then it would go to council, that they'd receive it for information and budgetary purposes.
Do you think 2032 is too far away? It's 10 years away.
Do I?
Wait until we do a review. That's not even
I think
the
what
work.
will happen, to be honest with you, is that would spark the discussion with the council at the time and administration at the time. I don't think it would handcuff their hands to doing the project.
Mhm.
But I think the good thing, it identifies that we do recognize it, it's been studied, and we're not going to forget about it. The only problem, the only issue that I see, $10,000 isn't a big expense on this one. But if a huge reserve had to be built, let's say if it was a $2 million project, we'd probably having some more detailed discussion on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess yeah, we just continue with it as is, and if there's still concerns, it's good for those concerns to be documented, so residents can still send in those concerns.
Well, we just, I guess we'll receive this as information.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Thanks, Bill. There was an issue brought up, and I'm not sure which one it was, but I think it was going back to F2, and it had to do with planning only requiring one parking space for each unit that's being built. And the residents feel like because there's some units that are going to be 2 or 3 bedroom, that's not sufficient. And Bill, your response is that that's a planning issue, not a streets and road issue.
Yes, definitely it does. On-site parking, if there's not enough, it does spill over to on-street parking. But the on-site issue itself is being dealt with by planning and council as a whole. So I think we'd be overreaching our mandate of the Streets and Roads Committee to try and provide different direction or recommendation. I think other people are dealing with that issue at hand.
Yeah, I agree. Rob, interested in your comments?
No, I think our acting director, Jenny Kasperitz, wrote a very good memorandum to council, which appeared, I did believe it was in the February 8th council package, brought by a question from Lisa. I think it was very satisfactorily answered, and we're moving forward with the land use bylaw. The question is there going to be enough parking when are the hotel standards changed that you build a room with, we'll say 4 bedrooms, and it's only got one access? Does that mean you only get one unit when you may need actually, 3 parking stalls for it going by bed? Most of the ones that we're seeing that are coming in, they have lock-offs. It's more advantageous for the hotelier to have lock-offs so they can actually make more money with charging on the units. But it seems to be working quite well. There is a project coming forward, obviously, in Harvey Heights that has got a lot of parking available. So it's been loud and clear. The developers have heard the concerns that have been coming up, and they are trying to address them with additional parking over and above the minimum requirement. But I agree that the committee level is not, it would be direction from council to administration to start amending the land use bylaw would be more the appropriate route.
Which there has been, so it's already come before council, and it's back.
It has, but there's no direction been given to administration to change that particular regulation. So I mean, that's where we are right now, and We're going to be doing the MDP review this year, which will go into itself into a land use bylaw review, which means going out to all the communities and getting feedback. And obviously parking would be one of those.
I do believe there was direction from council though to start looking at amending this bylaw. So we talked when Jenny was talking about it. There was conversation over how long it would take to amend a bylaw like this, 4 months minimum. And I'm pretty sure there was a motion from council to start the process of looking into amending this bylaw.
True. I'll go back and check the minutes and see what it says. I don't recall that being there, but I will check and I'll get back to you on that. Both you and Councillor Clark.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So I got off topic a bit. So we're now at A47 Rehabilitation Program.
Yes, so administration would like to start selecting an engineering or receiving proposals to select an engineering consultant and start preparing the construction package. And I think one question we've had at hand for some time now is if we should move from the plan, the pavement rehabilitation plan, to continue working on Jamison Road and shift to Harvey Heights Road. And that would be, this is a fitting time right now to hopefully conclude that. Administration, so we can move forward on it. You know, I just want to recognize too that really the rehabilitation plan is just that. It's a plan. It's not set in stone, but it gives us the direction more so in the short term than the long term of the projects we're preparing to do. So I just don't, I don't, because there's the rehabilitation plan that's been in front of us and council. It's not set in stone. I don't want to give that impression that you know, that Jamison has to be done this year, or it'd be disastrous and life would end on Earth as we know it. So it is used for plan and planning purposes, and the engineering company, when they did the plan in 2018, Jamison was in poorer shape and needing more attention. The other thing that we do as administration, when those engineers do those plans, they do block by block, regardless of where it is. So we try to group areas, so we're not moving from one street to another community in the same year. We're trying to concentrate it in one area. But that being said and done, if pushed to make a recommendation, I'd suggest we continue with the plan and continue with Jamison Road.
Well, I support that, Bill, and I see your third-party condition assessment, which Jamison Road has a higher need for rehabilitation than the Harvey Heights Road. So, and I already have notified residents in my area that last year's beginning of the rehabilitation for last year was just the beginning, and the remainder was going to be this year. And I would like to, that's been on the books for some time, and I'd like to certainly finish it off.
I do have a question though, kind of to speak, I guess, to what Paul just said though too, because it doesn't look like the remainder is going to be finished this year. It's or is that how it would work? Because this is still, because of COVID, we got delayed, and that's why the 2021 budget is still there. Or
potentially it could be a 2-year program. That's what the budget, what we said, and so it might not be all done this year. because we were preparing on the budget to do it over 2 more years.
But we didn't start. Did we start last year or?
Yeah, we did.
Yes,
we
we
got
did.
Okay.
We did about the 700 meter section that we identified.
Okay.
So we got our targets, and again, I when I was doing pavement management in another community in 2006, 2007, my memory's pretty poor, but our inflation, our costs were increasing 15 or 25%. That's significant over a 2-3 year period. So I can't guarantee the pricing, but the plan would be, I think we'd get most of it done this year. If we get it all, I don't think, I wouldn't go make that promise that we'd complete it this year. So I think once we know our pricing, we can continue with the plan and see a better layout how the rest of the projects come to be.
Well, the
And
good
then-
news on, excuse me, the good news on Jameson Road is that you did do some pavement overlay on the north side, north end of Jameson Road several years ago, and that's stood up quite well. So even if we got to that point and then did the overlay, the rehabilitation the following year, that'd be fine. We'd still have a safe, good quality road in both cases.
Yeah, and then did Richards Road and did those 2 roads get completed in 2021?
Yeah, they sure did.
Okay.
And that feels good. When I started with the MD about 10 years ago, that was the first discussion on streets and roads we had, and it was quite a discussion.
Yeah.
So that actually feels really, good. And just the whole, the way the plan and, I just want to compliment everyone, the MD, the council coming together with the plan, and then the teams, our engineering teams and our roads foreman who did such a great job on it. That feels good. That feels good to get Richards Road done.
Awesome. I can't wait to check it out when we do our ward tour.
Yeah, I had a drive down it, and before we did the final rehabilitation last year, and it's a pretty good road for the given the number of residents on it.
Yep.
Awesome. And then in terms of Harvey Heights Road, is there pros or cons in terms of timing around the work for the birdcage? I think we kind of touched on this at some point here, but
yeah, I was giving it a lot of thought, and I think I was overthinking it. So the birdcage, there's no guarantee when we're going to get the grant funding, or if we get the grant funding for the realignment. We still haven't heard from that. So there could be some mobilization, a little bit. It wouldn't be a huge benefit if we did it all at one time. What I do find too in my history is with other municipalities is when I do straight overlays, the pavement rehabilitation, my prices are a lot better than when I try to work them into engineering projects. Just the nature of the work. So I think there's advantages and disadvantages, but I don't think it should really be forcing the direction we choose to go.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if there's like an advantage to having almost like a two-step, two contract project where there's the project for the interchange that bleeds into Harvey Heights Road, and then it's like all the equipment and everything is there. Why don't we just do it all at the same time? But if we don't know when that interchange will happen, then I guess just keeping Harvey Heights Road on this plan for 2024 is probably good, and we'll know more before that.
Yeah, and definitely after Jamieson's done with this plan, Harvey Heights Road is our priority.
Okay.
The other good news, I know Mark did a patch and he had to go and do some rework. It was quite a big patch on it too. But yeah, Harvey Heights Road, unless there's political change, that once we finish Jamieson, that would be our new priority, moving that way.
All right, very good. Thank you.
I think that's the end of the agenda, but I do have a couple of questions for Rob and the whole committee. Is that given the mandate for masks is rescinded tomorrow, would you like to carry these meetings on by team or in the council chambers?
I'm fine either way. If we're moving towards having in-person meetings, then we do that. It's really the call of the chair. There's an SOP that I'm reviewing and we'll send out today, actually, from our Joint Health and Safety Committee of what the new protocols will be based on the announcements that's been made by Kenny on Saturday. But I mean, for some of us, I will still keep my mask on just because for my health. Other people may not have to. So I will be sending out that SOP, and that will also go to council, and it will also go to all our committee members too, as we start to open up and start to have in-person meetings.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we were just talking about having more of a phased-in approach to
Right.
in-person meetings, where we'll start with council and finance, and then slowly, hopefully soon, get back to committee meetings being in person, and maybe definitely having a hybrid option available too. So if somebody does have the sniffles and there's 4 of us that are meeting in person, then the 5th person could zoom in.
Yeah, so we'll make a decision right now that this next meeting on the 28th, I believe, of March will be a Teams meeting. And I mean, it can change. But let's go with that for now.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, that's about the end of the agenda. I'm about to adjourn the meeting. Anything else? And I thank you for participating and have a good day.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks very
Thanks,
much.
everyone.
Thank you very much. Lana was going to stay on and help me with my computer. So, Lana, are you still there?
You know what, Paul, we will shut down this meeting and then